The border was silent. It stretched across space like a long red scar, glowing softly, warning every ship to stay away. All races knew this line. All captains taught it to their crews. And every star map had the same name written on it. The Red Line. It was the only place in the galaxy where no one dared to travel. Not even smugglers. Not even pirates. The Dominion had claimed the space beyond it thousands of years ago, and they had made their warning very clear. Cross this line, and you will not return. For centuries, no one tested that warning. Until tonight. A small human scout ship, shaped like a silver blade, drifted toward the glowing border. Its engines hummed with low power, as if even the ship itself was afraid to go closer. Inside sat Lieutenant Mara Hale, her fingers tight on the controls, her breath slow but shaking. She knew she was not supposed to be here. She knew Earth Command would never approve this mission. She also knew she had no choice. Her screen flickered with interference as she neared the red line. Strange symbols danced across her dashboard, symbols she had never seen before. The Dominion claimed them to be old warnings. Mara thought they looked more like threats, but she kept going. A soft alarm started to beep. Her ship spoke in a calm voice. Crossing Forbidden Zone in 30 seconds. She muted it. She didn't want to hear anything, not even her own thoughts. Outside her window, the red glow thickened, like a wall of mist floating in space. It looked peaceful from a distance, but now that she was close, it felt alive, like it was watching her, waiting for her to make the final move. Mara opened a channel to Earth. The signal was weak. Static filled the speakers, but she did not stop. "Command, this is Lieutenant Mara Hale," she said. "I'm about to cross the red line." Her voice sounded small. She hated that. The static grew louder, but a faint voice answered. "Mara, stop. Turn back." "I can't," she whispered. "I found something. Something dangerous. If I don't cross, we will all be in trouble." The signal died. Mara stared at the border. Her heart beat so hard she felt it in her throat. Every story she had heard about the Dominion echoed in her head. Stories of ships vanishing, of strange lights, of screams sent across open channels. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she pushed the throttle. Her ship glided into the red glow. The universe went silent. The stars outside vanished as if someone had turned them off. The ship lights dimmed. Panels flickered. Every system dropped to zero. The engines stopped with a sharp click. Mara's stomach twisted. She tapped the control screens, but nothing responded. "Come on," she whispered. "Don't die now." But she knew this wasn't a ship failure. This was something else. Something older. Something powerful enough to shut her down without even trying. Her ship drifted deeper into the red mist. A low vibration rolled through the hull. It felt like a giant hand brushing against the metal. The mist around her began to swirl in slow circles, like it was gathering itself. Then she heard it. A faint whisper. Not through the speakers. Not through the radio. Inside her own mind. "Why have you come?" Mara froze. Her breath stopped. She looked around even though she knew no one was there. The whisper came again, stronger this time. "You are not welcome. Turn back." She wanted to answer, to say she couldn't, but her voice didn't work. Her body felt heavy, almost frozen. Lights flashed outside her window. Shapes moved in the mist. Tall shadows, stretching and bending like smoke. She tried to focus on them, but every time she blinked, they appeared closer. One of them pressed a long shape against the glass. It looked like a hand. A large one. Her heart hammered. She forced her fingers to move and hit a small emergency recording device. The screen blinked red. "If someone finds this," she whispered, "there is something behind the red line. Something older than the Dominion. Something awake." The mist outside began to shake, forming a spiral. A strong pull grabbed her ship, dragging it forward. The hull groaned under the pressure. Lights burst across the dashboard, warning her of damage. Mara strapped herself in and tried not to panic. But the pull grew stronger, dragging her deeper and deeper. Then the mist ahead split open. A giant shape appeared in the darkness. Silent. Massive. like a forgotten god rising from deep water. It had no clear form, only a huge shadow with glowing cracks running across it like veins filled with fire. Its presence crushed the inside of her chest. Mara whispered, "What are you?" The whisper answered, "The ones you fear are children. We are the first. We are the end. You should not have come." Suddenly the ship shook violently. Panels exploded above her. Sparks flew. The recording device fell from her hand. With a final burst of light, everything went black. Her ship drifted silently into the darkness beyond the red line. Far away, on the Dominion capital world, alarms blared. A council of ancient leaders stared at a single message pulsing on their screens. "A human has crossed the border." And the room filled with cold fear. The hunt was about to begin. Dominion Command stood high above a dark planet, built like a massive fortress carved into black stone. The halls were wide and cold, filled with echoes of old victories. No one here feared other races. No one here doubted their own power. But today, fear moved through the air like smoke. The alarms continued to ring across the command tower. Bright red lights flashed through the halls as soldiers rushed to stations. Officers shouted orders, and screens filled with warnings. A single message caused all this chaos. A human has crossed the red line. For the Dominion, this was not a small problem. This was an insult. A challenge. A spark that could burn whole star systems. Inside the High Council chamber, 5 ancient leaders gathered around a tall round table. Their faces were long, their skin marked with old battle symbols. They were old even for their species. So old they had seen the rise of many civilizations. At the center sat Commander Vaylor Kuth, the most feared military leader in the Dominion. His eyes were sharp, cold, and calm, even while the room shook with alarms. He listened to the report one more time. "A human scout ship," the officer said, voice shaking. "It crossed the border 15 minutes ago. We lost its signal after full entry." Vaylor tapped a clawed finger on the table. "You are certain?" he asked. "Yes, Commander. We tracked its signature. It was human." The council members exchanged looks of disbelief. "Humans?" one of them hissed. "They are children. Reckless. Loud. Why would they cross our line?" Another elder leaned forward. "They must be testing us. They think we have grown weak." Vaylor raised a hand, and the room fell quiet. "No," he said slowly. "Humans are many things. But foolish? No. They know the cost of crossing our border." The elders nodded. They knew Vaylor respected humans more than any other species. Not because he liked them, but because he had seen how dangerous they could be when cornered. One elder stood. "We must destroy the ship, then broadcast the wreck across the galaxy as a warning." But Vaylor shook his head. "The ship is already lost. Something else took it." The room froze. "What do you mean?" another elder whispered. Vaylor pressed a control on the table. A hologram appeared above them, showing the last moments captured by Dominion scanners. The human ship drifted into the red mist, then vanished. But just before the signal died, the scanners detected a strange pulse, something ancient, something unknown. The elders stared at the recording in silence. "That," Vaylor said, "is not human technology." No one spoke. Everyone in the room knew the truth. Everyone had heard the same legends whispered for centuries. The space beyond the red line held old things, dead things, sleeping things. But no one had ever seen proof. Now they had it. The eldest council member leaned back in his chair. "We sealed that region long ago. We warned every race. We told them what waits beyond. And now a human has awakened it." Vaylor turned to the officer. "Send a hunter group. 5 cruisers. I want them to reach the border in minutes." "Yes, Commander." "And tell them," Vaylor added, his voice turning colder, "that they are not retrieving the human. They are retrieving the truth." The officer bowed and ran out. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, a message arrived at the Human Fleet Command. A young technician shouted, "Sir, new signal from Dominion space." Captain Idris Kane turned in his chair. He was tall, with sharp eyes and a calm presence, respected across all human fleets. When trouble came, He was always the first to step forward. "What does it say?" he asked. The technician swallowed hard. They detected a human ship crossing the red line. It was Lieutenant Mara Hale's ship. Idris froze. He had trained Mara himself. He knew her well. Smart, brave, but never reckless. She would never cross that border unless forced or unless she discovered something important. He stood up slowly. "Track her last signal." "We lost it, sir." "Then find what she found," he said. "Prepare a response team." Quietly. The technician blinked. "Sir, you're not suggesting—" "Yes," Idris said firmly. "We're going to the border." No one moved. Everyone knew the danger. Everyone knew what the Dominion would do if they caught humans near the red line. But Idris didn't care. Mara was out there, alone or worse, and something unknown had taken her. He walked toward the bridge window and stared at the distant stars. "Mara sent her final message for a reason," he said. "She saw something. And if we don't act now, the galaxy will face it next." Behind him, his officers exchanged nervous glances. The Dominion was preparing for war. Humans were preparing for rescue. Neither side understood the truth yet. The real threat was not the crossing. The real threat was what lay awake beyond the red line. The Dominion strike group moved like a pack of silent predators through the dark corridors of space. 5 long war cruisers glided toward the red line, their hulls black as night, their engines glowing like angry eyes. Commander Vaylor Kuth led the formation from the front. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, claws folded behind his back, eyes fixed on the swirling red border ahead. The mist seemed alive, moving in slow waves, whispering through the void. The Dominion ships were built for war. But even they seemed small against the red line. A young Dominion officer approached Vaylor. "Commander, we are entering the border zone in 10 seconds. Vaylor did not look at him. His voice remained steady. "Proceed." The cruisers crossed the red line one by one, each vanishing into the thick red haze. As soon as they passed through, the sensors flickered. The lights dimmed. A cold pressure settled inside every ship. The border felt wrong, like a breath being held. Inside the mist. The mist swallowed sound, swallowed light, swallowed even time. Deep inside it, the Dominion scanners struggled to find anything. No stars. No planets. No signals. Only emptiness. Then a faint blinking light appeared on their screens. "Commander," an officer said, "we found something. A small craft, human design." Vaylor stepped closer. "Bring it on screen." A ghostly image appeared. Mara Hale's scout ship, drifting with slow spins like a dead leaf floating in dark water. Half its hull was burned. The lights were off. The cockpit window was cracked. There was no movement inside. "Life signs?" Vaylor asked. "No life signs detected," the officer replied. "The ship is empty." Vaylor narrowed his eyes. "No body." "None." The officer spoke in hushed tones, confused and afraid. Something had taken her, or she had escaped. Neither answer felt safe. "Bring the ship aboard," Vaylor ordered. As the Dominion cruiser extended a mechanical arm to capture it, something else appeared. 3 long claw-like marks across the human ship's hull. Fresh. Deep. The officers stared. "What could do that to metal?" one whispered. Vaylor did not answer. Instead, he walked toward the docking bay himself. Inside the human ship, the Dominion soldiers opened the hatch with a hiss. A cold breath swept out of the ship, like the air itself had been holding a secret. Vaylor stepped inside, his boots echoing through the narrow corridor. The lights were dead, but his visor glowed softly, showing every detail. The ship was empty. Completely empty. Only one thing stood out. On the main control panel, someone had scratched words with a sharp object. The letters were jagged, desperate. "They are coming for all of us." A Dominion officer gasped. "Is this a human threat?" Vaylor shook his head slowly. "No. This looks like a warning." Just then, the lights of the Dominion cruiser flickered violently. A deep vibration rolled through the ship. Vaylor's eyes narrowed. "What was that?" "Commander," a voice shouted through the comm, "we are under attack." Vaylor rushed back to the bridge. The first attack. On the screens, dark shapes moved through the red mist. Too fast, too sharp, too silent. They were not ships. Not machines. Not alive in any normal way. Their forms shifted like shadows, long and thin, with bladed edges that glowed faintly. One shadow darted forward and sliced across a Dominion cruiser's hull. Sparks flew. A massive gash opened, and the ship spun out of formation. Another shadow slammed into a second cruiser, cracking the armor like it was made of glass. "Shields are useless," an officer shouted. "These things, they cut straight through." Vaylor gripped the railing. "Weapons! Fire at will!" Cannons roared, lighting the mist with bursts of blue and white. But the shadows weaved between the shots with impossible speed. They didn't fly, they glided like they were swimming through smoke. Another cruiser exploded. The shockwave shook the flagship. Vaylor watched the shadows circle. "This is no random attack," he growled. "They defend this place." The officer at his side trembled. Then, the human did not trigger this? Vaylor turned slowly toward him. No. Something else woke up. Meanwhile, the human response team. Far from the border, Captain Idris Kane's ship pushed through space at top speed. His team of elite officers worked silently around him. They had one mission. Find Mara. Find the truth. Survive. Idris studied the red line growing on the screen. "Sir," his navigator said softly, "Dominion cruisers have already entered the zone." "5 of them." Idris nodded. "Then we're already behind. What if the Dominion destroys Mara's ship?" "They won't," Idris said. "They need answers as much as we do." He leaned back, eyes sharp. "And whatever they find in there, they won't fight it alone." Back at the red line, one last Dominion cruiser drifted in flames. Vaylor's flagship was the only ship still moving. The shadows encircled them, ready to strike the final blow. But then, something unexpected happened. They stopped. Every shadow froze in the mist, staring at the human ship still held in the docking bay. Its cracked cockpit window reflected their glowing forms. Then the shadows whispered through the mist, so soft, the crew barely heard it. "One has awakened us. Many will follow. None shall pass unseen." And with that, the shadows disappeared. Not defeated. Not destroyed. Simply gone. Vaylor breathed out slowly. The hunt had not ended. It had only begun. The red mist slowly cleared around Commander Vaylor's flagship, leaving behind a field of drifting metal. 4 Dominion cruisers were gone, broken, sliced, or simply missing. Only one ship remained, damaged but still alive. Vaylor stood at the center of the bridge, silent, his claws tight behind his back. No one dared speak. No one dared breathe too loud. The shadows had left as suddenly as they came. But their presence still weighed on everyone like a heavy hand. "Commander," the officer near him whispered, "what were those things?" Vaylor did not answer. He only stared at the broken space outside the window. Things like that were not supposed to exist. Not anymore. Not in this age. Then a new signal flashed on the screen. The officer stiffened. "Sir, incoming ship. Human design." Vaylor's eyes narrowed. "Put it on screen." A sleek human recon ship burst out of hyperspace near the border, engines glowing blue. It did not cross the red line. It hovered just outside, watching. On that ship, Captain Idris Kane stared at the mist with calm eyes. His crew worked quickly, scanning for signals, survivors, anything. "Sir," the navigator said, "Dominion casualties are high. Only one cruiser remains." Idris exhaled slowly. "Then we make contact." A communication channel opened between the two ships. Dominion officers tensed. Human officers straightened their backs. Races who did not trust each other. Races who nearly went to war more than once. Vaylor stepped forward. Idris did the same. Their faces appeared on each other's screens. Vaylor spoke first, voice deep and steady. "You are far from your side of the galaxy, Captain Kane. And you are far from your safety, Commander Vaylor," Idris replied. For a moment, both men studied each other. Two leaders shaped by conflict, but not blinded by it. Idris broke the silence. "We're here for Lieutenant Mara Hale." "Did you find her?" Vaylor looked away for a brief second. "We found her ship," he said. "Empty." Idris's jaw tightened. He felt the truth in Vaylor's tone. Mara was alive, or taken. "And the shadows that attacked you?" Idris asked. Vaylor hesitated. "Ancient things. Something older than the Dominion. Something we were meant to avoid." The word older chilled Idris. The Dominion almost never used it. They saw themselves as the oldest power. "Commander," Idris said, "we didn't come to fight you. Something is happening inside that mist. Something that threatens all of us." Vaylor nodded slowly. He did not want to admit it, but the human was right. Inside both ships, soldiers whispered in shock. A human and a Dominion leader talking without threats? This had not happened in 1,000 years. Idris continued, "You've already lost 4 cruisers. We're not letting you go in alone again. Let us help." Vaylor's officers exploded in anger. "Commander, you cannot trust them. They crossed the border first. They wake ancient things." Vaylor raised a single claw, and the room fell silent. He stared at Idris for a long moment, weighing the risk and the truth. "Captain Kane," he said at last, "if we cross the line together, who leads?" Idris didn't blink. "You know this region better. You lead. We support." Vaylor's eyes widened a little. Humans rarely gave power away. But Idris wasn't here to fuel pride. He was here to save someone. Vaylor slowly nodded. "Very well. Prepare your ship." We moved together. On both bridges, crews stared in disbelief. Humans and Dominion, entering the Red Line as allies? This day would be written in history. The 2 ships moved side by side into the mist. The red glow thickened around them like a storm cloud. Instruments flickered. Lights dimmed. A humming sound grew louder in the walls. "Stay close," Vaylor ordered. Idris nodded. "If anything moves, we cover each other." For the first time, Vaylor felt something almost like respect. As they went deeper, the mist suddenly opened into a massive hollow space. A giant structure floated ahead, dark metal, huge and ancient, shaped like a fortress built by giants. It pulsed with slow light, as if it had a beating heart. Idris whispered, "What is that?" Vaylor did not answer immediately. His voice was lower now, uneasy. "A prison," he said. "A very old one." Idris frowned. "For what?" Vaylor looked at him. "For the ones we call eclipse makers." Idris had heard the name only in old stories told by explorers. Stories so strange that most people believed them to be myths. A species older than the Dominion. A species that disappeared after a great war. A species said to cut the stars. Idris took a slow breath. So the border was not a territory line. "No," Vaylor said. "It was a seal." The ancient structure flashed again, brighter this time. Panels shifted. Massive doors began to open. A cold voice filled the ships, deep, layered, and empty of warmth. "You have broken the silence. You have awakened the sleepers. None who cross shall leave untouched." Idris felt his heart drop. Vaylor gripped the edge of his console. "The prison is opening." Then something moved inside the structure. A huge shape, bigger than their ships. Its eyes glowed like red suns. Idris whispered, "Mara, what did you find in here?" The answer was already coming toward them. And both races realized the same truth. The shadows they faced earlier were only the scouts. The ancient doors of the floating fortress continued to open, releasing a dull echo across the hollow space. The red glow from inside the structure grew brighter, pulsing in long waves like something was breathing in the dark. Both ships, one Dominion, one human, held position. Neither side spoke. Neither side moved. Every soul on board felt the same cold fear spreading through their chest. Inside the shadowed doorway, a massive figure slowly stepped forward. Its body looked carved from obsidian stone, but alive, muscles shifting like black smoke under glass. Lines of glowing red ran across its arms and chest, pulsing with strange rhythm. Its eyes burned like twin suns. The first eclipse maker had awakened. Commander Vaylor's voice shook despite his control. I never believed these stories were true. Captain Idris Kane didn't blink. We need to scan it. Anything. Weakness, pattern, anything. His tactical officer ran the scanners, but the screen stayed blank. No reading. No energy trace. No heat. It's not fully here. Idris felt a chill. Something not fully in their dimension, something that could shift between forms, would be almost impossible to fight. The creature lifted its head slowly. The glow in its eyes intensified. The red mist around them twisted, pulled toward it like water swirling into a drain. Then the creature spoke, but not with sound, with a voice inside every mind. The seal weakens. The sleep ends. The Star Eaters rise. Both crews clutched their heads as the word struck them like thunder. Vaylor forced himself to stand straight. Creature! Speak plainly. Why now? Why wake after all this time? Its burning eyes turned toward the Dominion cruiser. One entered the silence. Mara. Idris stepped forward. The human officer. What happened to her? The creature shifted its head slowly. For the first time, its voice softened, not kind, but curious. She walked where no one walks. She touched the memory stone. She saw our old war. Idris's heart clenched. Mara wasn't dead. She was somewhere inside that ancient fortress. He looked sharply at Vaylor. We're going in. Vaylor growled. That thing will tear us apart if we try. But before the argument could continue, the creature moved again. Its massive form straightened. The red glow in its arms spread across its entire body. The sleepers answer her call. The silence breaks. The galaxy trembles. The fortress behind it began to rumble. Heavy chains of energy snapped, bright bursts firing outward like lightning. More shadows moved inside. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Idris whispered. How many are waking? Vaylor stared without blinking. Too many. Without warning, the Eclipse Maker raised its arm. A ripple of red energy burst out, forming a circle that expanded quickly. Brace! Idris shouted. The wave hit both ships with crushing force. Sparks sprayed across the bridges. Crew members fell from their stations. Metals groaned. Shields at 70%. Idris's officer yelled. 40%. Vaylor's officer shouted back in panic. The creature wasn't attacking them specifically. It was clearing space, making room for something bigger. Shapes emerged from the fortress behind it. Tall, thin, armored in black plates that shifted like liquid. Their eyes glowed faintly, not red like the first one, but a pale white. Idris pointed. What are those? Vaylor answered with dread. Hunters. The lowest caste. If they rise, the higher ones are waking too. The hunters opened their jaws and let out a deep rumbling sound, like stone grinding against stone. Then they moved. Fast. So fast the eye could barely follow. The human ship fired first. Blue beams cut through space, hitting one hunter, but the creature dissolved into smoke, then reformed behind the shot. What was that? The human gunner cried. Vaylor shouted. They shift. They bend space around themselves. The Dominion cruiser fired next, a heavy blast that shook the entire hollow chamber. But the hunters slid around the attack as easily as water moves around a rock. The first hunter reached the Dominion ship and slashed across the hull. Screams echoed. Sparks exploded. A large piece of armor fell away. Idris slammed his hand against his console. Cover them! Fire at the blind spots. His ship moved downward, firing continuous beams. The hunters twisted away, but not all. One beam struck a hunter square in the chest. Its glowing veins pulsed violently. Then it burst into ash. Idris leaned forward. They can be killed. Vaylor nodded. But not easily. We need to push them back. But the hunters were multiplying. More crawled out of the fortress doorway. More shadows circled inside the mist. And the first massive Eclipse Maker watched them with glowing eyes. Silent, unmoving, but ready. Idris realized the truth. This wasn't a battle anymore. This was the beginning of a war. Just when it seemed they would be overwhelmed, A faint signal crackled through Idris's speakers. "Captain! Idris, can you hear me?" Idris's heart froze. "Mara!" The bridge went silent. Her voice was weak but clear. "They're waking. The seal is broken. You must not let them leave the prison." "Mara, where are you?" Idris shouted. A pause. A breath. "I saw what they are, and what they want. Idris, you have to destroy the fortress. Even if I'm still inside." Everyone on the bridge stared at Idris. Shock, fear, disbelief. Valor spoke softly. "If the fortress opens fully, these creatures will spread across the galaxy." Idris clenched his jaw. He knew Mara was right. But destroying the fortress meant possibly destroying her. His voice was low, trembling with anger. "Not yet." He faced Valor. "First, we get her out." The Dominion commander held Idris's gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. "For this, we stand together." The chamber fell silent as Commander Relis, the highest voice of the Dominion's eastern border, entered. His long gray armor dragged across the stone floor, each step echoing like a warning bell. Behind him, 2 guards carried long spears charged with blue energy. No one in the room dared to breathe too loudly. Only one group did not lower their eyes. The humans. Marcus stood at the front, hands tied with energy cuffs, but he kept his back straight. His team stood behind him, Dina, Kovac, and Eli, each bruised but calm. They looked out of place in the shining hall of Dominion law, but their presence sent a message. They were not afraid. Relis stopped in front of them and stared for a long moment. "You crossed the border," he said, his voice deep and cold. "A border no one crosses. A line even the strongest empires respect." Marcus didn't blink. "We crossed to help." Relis turned sharply. "A lie. Humans do not move without reason. You come only when something threatens you." The hall murmured. Dominion officers nodded. They were used to seeing humans as troublemakers, rule breakers, problems waiting to explode. But today felt different. Relis walked closer, until his helmet almost touched Marcus's face. "You came into our territory," he said softly, "and destroyed 3 Varnock war machines. Machines we have fought for years. Machines that killed our soldiers. Machines that, somehow, you stopped in 5 minutes." Kovac whispered behind Marcus. "He says it like it's a bad thing." Relis heard him. "It is a bad thing. It means humans hide a power greater than we expected." Marcus raised his voice. "We didn't hide anything. We acted fast because we saw your people dying. What should we do?" "Watch." The Dominion guard stiffened, but Relis lifted his hand, signaling silence. He circled the humans again, studying every scar on their armor, every burn mark on their clothes. "You risked your lives for strangers," he said. "Strangers who told you to stay away." Dina stepped forward. "We saw a threat. Threats don't care about borders." The hall became so quiet that even the energy lamps seemed to dim. The Dominion officers exchanged confused glances. Their laws were strict. Their borders were sacred. But the humans' actions did not fit inside any rule or punishment. They didn't cross for greed. They didn't cross for war. They crossed because something deadly was coming. And they couldn't ignore it. Relis stopped moving. His armor shifted, and a long crack of stress ran across his chest plate, something he never allowed anyone to see. For the first time, his voice trembled, not with anger, but with fear. "You think you helped us," he whispered. "You think you saved lives. But you do not understand what your actions have started." Eli frowned. "What did we start?" Relis turned toward the massive window, pointing at the skies beyond it. "The Varnock do not fight alone. They have a master, a voice in the darkness that controls them. And the moment you destroyed their war machines, that voice learned something new." He faced them again. It learned that humans live on this border. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. "Meaning?" Relis answered like a judge delivering a sentence. "You have revealed yourselves. And the Varnock Master fears only one species. Not us. Not the Dominion." He stepped closer. "It fears you." The air shifted, heavy and sharp, like a storm forming in the ceiling. Fear crawled through the hall, Not because the humans were dangerous, but because they were now targets. Marcus tried to break the tension. Then let us help you again. We can fight. You cannot fight something you do not understand. Relis roared. Lightning flashed across his armor. Then he lowered his voice to almost a whisper. You think you crossed the border? No. You crossed into a war older than your son. One we have been losing for centuries. Silence fell again. This time, it felt like the whole room was sinking. Relis lifted an ancient data plate. It showed star maps, destroyed planets, and symbols older than any human language. These marks, Relis said, are left by the Varnock Master when it chooses a species to erase. Last time it chose the Dominion. He turned the data plate. The marks glowed red. And now, he said, voice shaking, it has chosen humans. Dina grabbed the bars of her cuffs. Why? Why us? We didn't even know. You didn't need to know, Relis said. All you needed to do was exist. Nobody spoke. No one moved. The Dominion guards shifted nervously, unsure whether these humans were allies or the beginning of a cosmic catastrophe. Relis straightened his armor and spoke the final words like a sentence passed through ages. The Dominion warned you not to cross the border. Not because we feared you, but because we feared what would follow you. He stepped back. You have 3 choices. Face judgment, be executed, or help us fight a war that should never have reached your kind. The humans looked at each other. Every face carried the same thought. This was never about a border. This was never about trespassing. This was about survival. Marcus lifted his head. Give us one chance, he said. Let us fight. Relis stared at him, silent. The hall held its breath. Then the chamber lights flickered, warning of something approaching the Dominion capital. Something fast. Something massive. Something that had finally noticed the humans. And it was already here. The warning lights across the Dominion capital turned blood red. Sirens echoed through the stone corridors, vibrating the entire chamber where Marcus and his team stood. Everyone froze. Even Commander Relis, who had never shown fear in his life, looked toward the ceiling as dust drifted down. A deep, distant hum rolled across the sky, so low it shook the bones. It felt like the planet itself was trembling. Relis whispered, It found you faster than expected. The guards rushed to the windows first. A moment later, one of them shouted, The sky! Look at the sky! Marcus stepped forward. There, above the capital, hung a massive structure. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even something with a shape that made sense. It looked like a broken shadow stitched together with red energy lines, twisting like a living storm. The Varnock Master had arrived. The Dominion officers dropped to their knees. Some whispered ancient prayers. Others simply stared, knowing they had no weapon strong enough to face it. Marcus felt his heartbeat thundering, but he kept moving. Relis, he said, tell me that's not what I think it is. Relis did not answer for a long moment. Then, it is the Harbinger form, the first stage of the Varnock Master. Once this form appears, destruction follows. Always. Eli muttered, We're dead. No, Marcus said quietly. Not yet. But the sky disagreed. A crimson beam shot down from the shadow form, cutting across the horizon. It didn't explode. It erased everything it touched. Ships, towers, land. Gone as if someone had deleted them from existence. Screams filled the streets. The Dominion soldiers panicked. Dina stepped forward, eyes wide with horror. This thing, it's not fighting. It's cleaning. Correct, Relis said, his voice hollow. It cleans the border. And now humans are part of that border. Marcus clenched his fists, forcing himself to focus. Relis, he said, we need our weapons. Release us. Relis stared at him, long, tense seconds ticking away as the shadow in the sky grew larger. Then he lifted his hand and shattered their energy cuffs. You want to fight, he said. Then fight. But understand, if you fail, my people will not survive. Marcus nodded once. Then we don't fail. The humans grabbed their gear from the confiscation table. Their armor was dented and scorched, but still usable. Kovac powered up his gauntlet. Dina loaded her plasma rifle. Eli checked the small device Marcus handed him, the same device that destroyed the Varnock machines earlier. It pulsed with faint blue light. Relis stared at it with confusion and dread. "Your device? What is it?" Marcus answered simply, "A last chance." Outside, the ground cracked as the Harbinger form extended tendrils of red energy toward the city. Dominion defenses fired, hundreds of beams, cannons, missiles, but every single shot simply vanished before reaching the creature. It was like shooting into a black hole. Kovacs swallowed hard. "We're really doing this?" Marcus nodded. "We're the reason it's here. We finish it." Relis spoke again, this time with a tone the humans had never heard from him. "Respect. Humans walk with purpose," he said. "Until today, I believed that purpose was dangerous. Now I see it is something else." He bowed his head slightly. "You walk toward fear, while others run." No time for speeches. The ground shook violently. A second crimson beam fired, this one aimed directly at the capital. "Move!" Marcus shouted. They sprinted out of the chamber as the beam sliced through the outer wall, turning stone into liquid heat. The humans dashed through the chaos-filled streets, Dominion citizens screaming and pushing toward shelters. Dina yelled over the noise. "Marcus, what's the plan? You see that tendril?" Marcus pointed at a massive red vein of energy hanging from the Harbinger. "That's its anchor. We break the anchor, we break the form." Eli shouted. "And what if we don't?" "Then we die fast," Kovac answered. They reached a rooftop. The tendril was close enough to touch. It pulsed like a heartbeat made of fire. Marcus activated the device. The blue light grew brighter. The Harbinger paused. The sky twisted. The creature turned, slow, deliberate, and faced them. It saw them. It knew them. Relis, watching from the tower behind them, whispered, "It speaks your name." The creature's tendril whipped down, aiming to crush them. Marcus threw the device. A flash of blue erupted, bright enough to light the entire capital. The tendril cracked. Then it snapped. The Harbinger form split open, releasing a scream that shook the atmosphere. The shadow in the sky twisted, folding inward, collapsing like a dying star. And then, silence. The creature vanished. The sky cleared. Dominion soldiers, citizens, and commanders stared upward in disbelief. Marcus fell to one knee, exhausted. Dina grabbed him. Kovac and Eli collapsed beside them. Relis approached slowly, armor scorched from debris. "You did what no Dominion force could do in centuries," he said. "You broke the Harbinger." Marcus shook his head. "Not broken. Just sent away." Relis frowned. "Explain." Marcus looked into the sky, voice steady but grim. "It will come back. It knows humans now. It knows our faces, our strength, our weakness." He stood. "And next time, it won't send a Harbinger." Relis stared at him, understanding the meaning. Next time, the Master would come itself. Marcus looked at his team, then at the Dominion capital burned but still standing. "Prepare everything," he said softly. "A war is coming." Relis bowed his head. "And humanity will not face it alone." The screen could fade here, but the echo of the final line remains. The border was never the danger. The danger was what waited beyond it. And now, it knows the name of humanity,